It's the latest big release from Pacific Island Simulation, but first, let's get to know the developer a little bit, and then it's off to Salt Lake City, and it's going down right now. Stay tuned, folks. From the New England Air Museum, FlightSimCon 2016, and AirDailyX.net, I have a little surprise for both you and myself. I was shocked to see that Graham from PacSim showed up. I'm just walking down the hangar, and he's like, "Hey, you!" And I'm like, "Who are you?" And this is really exciting because I was not expecting you to be here. Right. A few other developers have also shown up, and I wasn't expecting them as well. So this is like the icing on the cake.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I didn't actually thought of getting here, but by coincidence, I guess my wife wanted to take a trip all the way to Boston, so we all took the trip here, and I said, listen, I have to go there and see what's happening.
Yes.
And that's why I popped in here, and what a pleasant surprise to see a lot of people here. I didn't expect the crowd to be that, plenty. But, and I haven't met you in person, so I thought maybe I should just come in and say hello.
And I'm so glad you did. So I had to get an interview with this guy. So tell me, Graham, because we don't know that much about you, but we certainly know your projects, your products. You call it PacSim, which means that you focus largely on Pacific Island simulations. But
Right.
what led you to starting up your own development company?
Well, what actually inspired me to start doing basically scenery design was the lack of scenery from the Pacific and Asia. A lot of people wanted to, want me to start off doing a big project, and I said, listen, I would start very small and then go from there. So what happened was that I started doing stuff that were just default, stuff. The SDK provided all the materials that is there, and so I just went off from there and started building my first product, which is the PNG boost flying product, which is the first of all the products that I've done, which is simply based on default. And that's where the enthusiasm started. And then people got interested in doing, flying in the Pacific region, and I just got off from there.
And because you did a lot of stuff like in Korea and a lot of places that other developers just wasn't really looking or showing much attention to, which I think is really wonderful.
Right.
Then you moved on to Manila, which I think at the time was probably your biggest project, wasn't it?
Manila was the second, I should say the third largest project that I worked on.
Oh, wow.
I think the first one that I really had a hard time trying to get, wrap my head around was the one in China. It's the ZSAM, I guess you could say one of the more challenging one that I had, because I didn't have that kind of material readily available, and I was the only guy working on it. So
wow.
That was, to me, at that time, was the biggest project. But now the technology has moved on, and I had to move on. I decided that I should start focusing on, airports that are easily manageable, and the materials are there, and Manila popped up. And then before that, it was obviously the one in the South Pacific, which is, a small airport, but it was big at the time when I was working on it too. So three of those were the biggest that I worked on.
And how many people make up the PacSim team now?
PacSim used to be 5 people. One died, unfortunately.
Wow.
He was an old guy anyway. And the 3 other guys I worked with up to the Xiamen Airport, which is in China.
Xiamen, yeah.
Xiamen. Actually, they retired because they're not playing the game anymore, or they're not interested in flight simming. And so it's only two of us. And you wouldn't believe it, the other guy who's helping me right now is my wife.
Wow. So is it really just you and your wife
Just
now?
me and my wife. And my wife does most of the origin that you see.
Wow.
And the Salt Lake City that's coming out, that's her work.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so I basically taught her how to do read the SDK and, build up all the surrounding areas with, buildings and vegetation. And she's getting very good.
We need your wife here. I need to interview her. So what is it like having to do all that autogen annotating? That would be a very interesting question to ask her.
To her, that's a sort of a second job. I mean, she does her own daytime job, and in the night she comes out and helps with each of the areas that I wanted to work on. And she's pretty good at it. So for you developers out there, if you're interested in somebody to help out with autogen, call me.
So you released Taipei, which I was very impressed with, did the live stream on that, and I just keep thinking every time you release something new, the quality level just keeps going up and up.
Right.
Now you've moved away from the Pacific region, Salt Lake City.
Right.
How's that project going for you?
Salt Lake City is my hometown. I just love the terrain, first of all. It's mountainous, and of course, it's one of the unique approach that you can have for big airport. And so, being my hometown, that was just a quick, it's not a big brainer to just go and pick that. I live right there, and I walk down to the airport every now and again to get all the pictures and stuff, meet other people and talk about the airport. And so when we were done with Taiwan, I said, that's it, I'm going to start this one, and I'm going to take it right through until I complete it. And then we're going to have to, probably within the next, hopefully towards the end of this year, we might have some kind of plan going forward. We were supposed to do the Beijing airport straight after doing the Salt Lake City airport. But then I found out there are 3 other people doing it. So I decided maybe I should consider whether I should do it or not.
Right.
And it might be one of the U.S. airports again, or it might be something outside the Asian region, because a lot of people, especially developers, they think that the market is just here in Europe, United States and Europe.
Right.
But it's not.
It's not.
Based on sales and based on market that I've seen and statistics that I got, I'm telling you that Asia is where the market is right now.
And actually, I have a curious question about that, because one of the things that I've learned is the Japanese market seems to be really big, and I'm actually curious because you did do Nagasaki, thank you. And I'm actually curious how the sales were for that project, because I've seen some of the other developers out there. The quality is not as good as yours in my own opinion, but they can sell these things at like $60 and $70, and they're like #1 on Sim Market for like 3 weeks.
Right.
How did that work out?
Well, so far, in Nagasaki's case, so far, what's the Japanese company that did the same thing as we did?
Was it Wing Creation?
Wing Creation.
Yeah.
And, I think there's some kind of, and I'm not going to I don't want to sort of put anybody off, but there's some kind of psyche there in the Japanese market, that if one of them that builds it, everybody will buy it. So we built it 3 months into it when they announced they were going to do it too. And in the process, we sort of diluted the interest. And so if you were from a Japanese, if you're a Japanese customer and you have a Japanese guy who's building the same thing as you are, they would go for the Japanese guy, because that one is because he knows his place.
Right.
And 2, because they would rather buy something from that developer because he can explain it better if there's any issues in their language than I would. So the preference goes for the person who's building it.
So I suppose the key there would be to not have to compete against another Japanese developer.
That's the thing I think most developers try to avoid, and I'm one of them.
Right.
I don't want to step in your shoe while you're doing something, because then we're going to split up the market.
Right. That's true.
And splitting them up, and for me, this is really a no-go. I don't want that. I don't want you, when you're working halfway through it, and I just jump in.
Exactly, and unfortunately that happens a lot.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the guy doing that.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I always try to get up front with my staff, and if I announce it, say about 6 months earlier, you know that I'm going to do it, and I'm going to finish it. I'm not going to hold back, and just because somebody jumped in, and I'm just going to have to work on it.
Right. Now, when you first started, you did a lot of stuff over in Papua New Guinea. Orbix recently, the guys, Tim and Ken, they went in there and just made Papua New Guinea a place of fantasy, a place where no one was thinking about flying to.
Right.
You think you'll ever return there and do more strips or airports?
I can't promise this, but I might in the future, because there is still a lot of people, especially in the general aviation part of the community, they're interested in, and especially virtual airlines.
Right.
The guys who are really doing this, not for the fun of it, but because they want to learn.
Right.
The terrain, the air density, because it's a tropical place.
That's correct.
All this kind of stuff, they factor into it. So I'm not going to leave it out. I will certainly at one point come back in. When Tim announced that he was going to do Port Moresby, and he was going to do the other airports,
right.
I said,
Dakota
Tim,
trick.
I said, go for it. It's an
Yeah.
open canvas. It's not my place to tell you not to do
Aren't
it.
they wonderful guys, though?
Yeah, they're good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim's a good mate of mine. We email back and forth, so every now and again you'll tell me, listen, I'm going to do this. I said, go ahead, do it. No
Wow.
problems.
Well, we are really, really looking forward to Salt Lake City. I certainly know I am. Those screenshots that you posted, I think it's been about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but
Yeah.
they look really, really impressive.
Oh, thank you.
And without a doubt, I know that I was talking to you a little bit earlier or yesterday,
Yeah.
about performance and how the hell do you do it, because all of your sceneries are just
Yeah.
like 70 FPS in the PMDG 777 on Final
Yeah.
Approach. So, I mean, you're really good at how you optimize your scenery. So
Well, thank you.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, we always have that in mind. I mean, what would a guy with a mediocre system, appreciate the things that we build on his system if it doesn't perform that well?
Right.
And we always have that as priority. I don't care about textures. I don't care how nice it looks. It has to, first of all, be fluid.
Right.
Then all the other things fall in line. And after I'm done with doing everything, then you'll see me tacking other things on. I'll take in the texture to 2048 instead of 1024. So that's basically how, I structure my work, to make sure that, first of all, somebody enjoys the product, because it has to be on his system.
Right.
And at the end of the day, he paid for it, all right? And he expects that product to work as expected,
Right.
Not buy something and then suddenly it bogs down the system and then he complains to me. Because at the end of the day, I'm only one guy. I can't be answering thousands of emails on why
Right.
the product is not working as it's supposed to. So that is a very important factor when I'm always deciding.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Graham, thank you so much for taking the time to stop down. I know there's a lot of things going on with
Right.
you and family, and you're on your own trip, but it certainly means a lot to me and certainly everyone else here that we got to meet you and get to know a little bit about you and PacSim more in depth and in person.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
You've been very successful,
happy to
and
be
I
here.
wish you more continued success.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Salt Lake live stream. Graham unfortunately cannot join us this morning, and that is because he is out spending some time with his grandchildren, so he did mention that he would not be able to join us today. So I thought, why not show the interview that I conducted with him this year at FlightSimCon? And at least that way, all the questions that I would have asked him today in the live stream, probably I've already asked him in that interview. So I kind of thought last minute, why not just show that for those of you who are not either acquainted with Pacific Island simulations, or maybe you are, but you don't know the people behind it, or perhaps you've seen the video, and maybe it's just nice to see it again, or maybe you missed it entirely. So I thought, why not show that again and give us a little bit of insight into the people behind this magnificent scenery that we are now looking at as we speak. So welcome aboard. It is a wonderful Saturday morning. And before I go too far, let's just do a quick mic check. I want to make sure you can hear the simulator as well as my voice. So I'll just do a quick check, 1 2 1 2. And if I can get a 5 or a 10 we'll continue. Once again, folks, this is the Pacific Island Simulation live stream, and welcome aboard. Just wanting to make sure we're good on sound. There we go. Thank you. 10-10. Perfect. So we're just coming up over the mountains here with the great Salt Lake in the background and Salt Lake City here in the foreground. And as we can already see, with this city here coming into view, it is a rather large coverage area. And if you were just listening to that or watching that interview, Graham was mentioning that the Pacific Island Simulation team essentially now consists of Graham and his wife. His wife, of course, who does all of the hydrogen placement, which is coming into view here. So quite a bit of work. Actually, I think it would have been interesting to get an opportunity to interview her as well, just to get an idea from a female perspective what it's like being involved in the development of flight simulation add-ons. But kind of funny, every year at Flight SimCon, my schedule is really like packed with all the developers that I'm going to interview, and I usually have about maybe 5 minutes between interviews, and usually the interviews are set up well in advance before the convention. That way I can be sure to kind of get around to everyone, and every year I still miss people. So this year, my goal is to get to everyone that I did not get to last year or the year before. But I was in between interviews. In fact, I think I was just coming out of the seminar with Misha and Alex, their seminar on flight simulation scenery development. And just as I'm exiting the door, there's this guy who's following me, and he's like, "Hey, can I help you with that camera equipment?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got it." And he's like, "No, let me help you out here. I can help you." And I'm like, "I'm okay. I got it." "You sure? That looks very expensive. Let me help you with that." And I'm like, "Who is this guy who's following me around trying to take my camera?" And then he goes, then he said my name. He's so you're DeAndre, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And then at that point when he said my name, I stopped to shake his hand. I realized I'm probably being rude here. And then he says, "It's me, Graham." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Graham." And then he turns around his Flight SimCon badge there around his neck, and it said PacSim, and I went, "Oh, Graham!" So I was extremely excited to meet Graham. So Graham, he was one of my big surprise visitors to Flight SimCon, Graham. And I guess that happened to just work out really well because he was with the family. He had his entire family with him, and they were doing a little bit of a road trip heading up to Boston. And he was able to convince the wife to stop by at the convention for a couple of hours. And on that first day, I just didn't have time to get to him. I had so much going on. But he was able to convince his wife to let him come back the following day. So they actually stayed in Hartford overnight. And he came back on Sunday, and I was able to interview him, which then another surprise developer shows up, Colin from TFDI. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, DeAndre, it's me, Colin." And I'm like, "Colin, what's up?" And he's like, "Yeah, TFDI." And I'm like, "What?" And it's probably rude, but the first thing out of my mouth, I think, was, "Did you bring the 717 with you?" So that's the great thing about Flight SimCon now. It's like, we always get this extensive list of people who we know are going to show up, but then it's those who don't say anything, and then they just pop up, and of course that's kind of the icing on the cake. And so a huge thanks to Graham, who again couldn't be with me this morning because he is out with his grandchildren, I believe he said. And of course they are certainly far more important than we are. Graham has been spending the last couple of years taking care of us, well, the last several years really taking care of us, but especially when it comes to Salt Lake City. So he's given us his time. And now it's time for him to take his own time and spend some time with his family. And we certainly wish him all the best on this wonderful Saturday afternoon in Salt Lake City to spend with his family. And he has now delivered to us this city, the first non-Pacific region city, really. And this was a project that he had been wanting to do for a very long time. And I remember him mentioning that, this is kind of the project that he's been kind of working up to, the big passion project for Graham. He moved to Salt Lake City, I believe about a year ago. And so that was one of the big driving forces behind the project as well, because that allowed him to get on site and to get a lot of on-site photography, as well as I think he had a couple of ramp agents on site as well that was able to get him some airside photography as well. So wonderful job so far. So honestly, I haven't looked at the scenery in too much detail, because usually in these sceneries or in these live streams, I like to try to, as best as I can, see it for the first time with you, so we can sort of have this little bit of an adventure together and explore it for the first time. So I did load it up last night, and I was able to just make sure everything was working okay, and I didn't look at it in too much detail, but I did notice, though, that there were a couple of complaints about the download time, and just a quick note about that. So when I went to download it, with all the different files, I think there's like 5 files, separate files that you have to download because of the large coverage area and everything. The download time was really slow. I could see I was getting probably about 45 minutes on each download, but when I copied those links and put them into my my download manager, I use free download manager, I had all the files in under 10 minutes. So just a quick note for some of you, if you're downloading straight through the browser, don't do that. Get a download manager. I use free download manager. And the way download manager works, it just doesn't slowly pull the file off from the server. The way it grabs the files in different increments and stuff, it knows how to measure the bandwidth and how to get the file. I don't know how it works, but I just know that if you're not using a free download manager, you definitely should. So definitely do that. I see Colin is here as well from TFDI, and he's got his magnificent 717 out. The guys are working on fixes, and they're basically now at that point where they're just working on refining the aircraft. But it certainly is a work of art, and hopefully we'll get to see Colin again this year at FlightSimCon. I can already tell you that there are some big names that have already signed up, and I the only reason why I'm not telling you who they are yet is because there has not been any official announcements yet, and it's best to wait until everything is finalized. But I can already tell you there are some big names that have already signed up this year. Not only big names that were here last year, but big names that were not here last year, or the year before. So if you have not gotten your early bird registration, do so now, because I think that runs up in February, if I remember correctly, or is it at the end of this month? I can't remember. So definitely make sure you get your tickets as soon as possible. This is going to be a huge event. In fact, this is expected to be the largest event ever. So there's far more space than we've ever had. We have a huge ballroom now. We have multiple conference rooms, food on site, air conditioning, the whole 9 yards. So it's going to be big. So I will, of course, be there. And Amos there in the chat, I know he'll be there. And for if you're planning on going, I'm looking forward to meeting many of you as well. We are now coming up on downtown Salt Lake City here. You can see there's a lot of customized autogen. Now, a quick note, there are, as you can see here, there are some pretty big gaps where there is no buildings. You can see there's a lot sitting on the photo reel. So there's a few buildings here and there, but then there's also some pretty wide patches in there as well. I'm trying to remember what my autogen settings are, but I think they're set pretty much either ultra or very high, something like that. I'm just going to come a little bit closer to the ground here and take a look at some of these custom buildings. So this is the city where Graham resides. So he's able to really make this as accurate as possible. Did I see a helipad on top of that Wells Fargo building there? Hang on a second. I couldn't tell if that was a helipad up there or not. Do we have helipads? There is a helipad over there. Let's check it out. So here we have the downtown Salt Lake City. I've never been to Utah. It almost made its way on our family list. We're looking for snow this year. We've been getting record rains here in Southern California, but the local mountains here, Big Bear's been getting quite a bit of snow, but still not quite enough. And we were thinking maybe we should go somewhere else this year to get to snow. And I'm trying to remember what that big resort is in Utah. we've been seeing a lot of advertisements for it, and thought maybe that might be a good idea, as opposed to like $1 billion trying to stay a night in Vail. But yeah, I've never been to Utah. No skids. All right, we're going to try to see if we can put it down on this helipad right over here. If we can. And see if it is hardened. There it is. All right, we've got helipads. Nice. It's one of the things I'm always looking forward to in a scenery is something nice to land on. So some very good attention to detail in this area. Try to see if any of these others have helipads on them. As you can see there, we've got the sun just setting there, and I'll have to adjust the time again pretty soon. I'm always starting it seems like I'm always starting my streams in the middle of the day, and every now and then I like to try to add some character and start at a different time of day. So that's why everything is kind of looking sunsetty. I thought it looks kind of pretty, though, that nice little haze out there in the distance. So again, this is a very large coverage area. You can see photoreal on all the mountains there at the top of the stream, coming in over the mountains, looking very nice. And I'm also curious about the winter textures as well, so I'll have to remember to make it a point to do that. So let's go ahead and make our way over to the airport. We'll start with the night textures first. Try to do things a little bit differently. I keep trying to remove that control tower view. Oh, I know why that's coming up. We need Chase Plane to, it's working with Track IR now, but now we need Chase Plane to work with Oculus, because the way Chase Plane sets up cameras, it removes camera views that Fly Inside relies on, and so whenever I go to fire up Fly Inside, the camera views are removed, which means I have to then take my cameras, have to delete the cameras file, let it rebuild, then do Fly Inside. But then when I'm not using the Oculus and I want to use Track IR, then it's got to rebuild again. So I have to go through that. So I keep getting that damn tower view that keeps coming back that I really want to get rid of. And Amos is saying there in the chat, just a note that PacSim is replacing the default buildings in the city itself. A lot of work has been done. And Live Spark says we're planning to work with them soon. Who is Live Sparks, and whom are you planning to work with? And you can see here we have the photoreal terrain moving all the way across the city. Over to the other side as well, these other mountains here in the background. Sorry, I don't know the names of these mountains. I'm not all that acquainted with Salt Lake City, so I don't know the name of these other mountains here that's in the background. And we're just coming up on the airport here. You can see we've got traffic arriving and departing. And one of the things that Graham pointed out in that interview, if you were following, is the approach. So I think that's one of the things we'll do now is take a look at that approach. Oh, Kevin. Okay. Kevin also, who is at Flight SimCon every year. He's here in the chat. Okay, Live Sparks. I didn't know that was the moniker for FSFX. So awesome. So Kevin's watching, and he's just addressed my point there that they will be working with Fly Inside to get that compatibility working. Wow, that's wonderful. You know, if it's one thing that I really love is when developers work together. I've always said it. I think everyone wins when developers are able to work together. The developers win because it ensures compatibility between their products, and the consumers win because it ensures. What are these two planes here? They're like, looks like they're mounting each other on the way in there. There's two A320s. My AI is so retarded. I'm so sorry. Anyway. So yeah, that's great to hear. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that because yeah, it drives me crazy sometimes going between the two, and both are products that I can't live without. So Chase Plane is officially one of those products that is a staple of my flight simulation experience, especially now that it's compatible with Track IR. So I mean, those are things that I can't live without. So sometimes I find myself having to just realize that I have to make concessions, but it's nice to see that you guys will be working together. So That is awesome. And we're just coming up under the approach here. We're going to bring the lights up. And actually, we'll bring the lights down a little bit. We'll look at the night lighting first. You can see here we have some nice approach lights here. And we've got traffic. Default, I believe this is the default P3D traffic coming over the bridges here. And coming down the approach. Trying to remember how long this project has been in development. I don't remember exactly. I'd have to go back and look at AirDailyX and try to see when was the first time that I announced this project. It was a while ago. Has it been 2 years? I'm trying to remember. Of course, the most recent release was Taipei, and the good thing about PacSim is, Graham has a really nice release sort of time frame between his projects. I feel like we're never waiting too long to go from one project to the next. Obviously, Salt Lake took quite a while to put together, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Taipei was released last year. I think he's been releasing at least one project every year, if I remember correctly. So that's a pretty decent time frame, especially when you consider the scale of the projects that he's doing. I'm trying to think if he disclosed to me where he's going next. I actually don't remember, or I don't know if he's told me or not. But whatever it is, I know that I'm already looking forward to it. And I remember in the beginning, in fact, I was actually quite shocked when I met Graham at FlightSimCon, because he just did not at all look like what I thought he might. And the reason why that is because he started off doing all these like Asian airports in Korea and in the Pacific. And so I guess in my mind, I assume that it was someone Asian that was doing all these airports, because usually when you see a singular developer doing a lot of Asian airports, it's usually someone who's Asian. And obviously, as you can see, he is not Asian. Graham is from the Pacific island of Papua New Guinea. So, yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So I would have never guessed. So when he said, "Hey, it's me, Graham," I did not make the connection there. So, but the thing that I love about Graham, he's a very humble guy, and a lot of fun to chat with. And it's nice hearing different stories about how these developers get into doing scenery development, because that's always the most curious thing that I always want to ask is why this, because I think at least I've always felt that flight simulation has always been something of a niche, but I guess we can only call it a niche in comparison to other video games that gross in the billions, like GTA or Call of Duty or Battlefield. It's a niche in comparison to that, but in and of itself, maybe it's not such a niche. Maybe flight simulation is always bigger than we thought it was. I've been saying it that there's a lot of big things going on for 2017. We've got Aerofly making some pretty big strides in their simulator. The new X-Plane, we thought, or at least we were told, would be released in December. I guess that didn't happen, and I haven't seen any other updates in terms of when that's expected to be delivered. So I don't know when that's coming out. What's the other thing? And then you've got Dovetail, who should be making some kind of an announcement, or if not an announcement, some sort of previews perhaps very soon. We're all pretty much wondering what's going on there and what groundbreaking features that their simulator is going to have. I think a lot of people are curious as to, is it really a whole new ground-up simulator? Is it based off of Flight School? Is it just a 64-bit version of FSX? So a lot of people I think are really curious about that. And if it is a 64-bit version of FSX, then it has to do something groundbreaking, because all eyes are on Lockheed Martin right now and Prepared, and whether we'll be getting a 64-bit version of Prepared. And if that's the case, then, all of the investments that Dovetail is making into their new simulator, if it turns out to be a 64-bit version of FSX, then the real question lies is what will it have over prepared other than the fact that it's an entertainment licensed product, which I know will attract a great many. But when it comes to product compatibility and stuff, we'll still be looking at two versions now of the same platform, but now 64-bit. So I think a lot of that is going to be interesting to note, or if they've really started something new. We don't know. They were expecting a release back in October. They did announce a delay, and we are rapidly approaching February now. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to come out of that. So hopefully something big from them. And then as we know, Orbix is no longer developing for X-Plane, and the answers are probably out there if you want to know why. I think there are reasons that are far more specific than John disclosed. But that's not going to happen, and I think that's unfortunate in a lot of different areas. But it's not something that I would solely blame Orbix for. But they are pressing forward with the Aerofly, which I think shows just an extreme amount of potential, to be honest. I know a lot of people see Aerofly right now as this sort of, the big 15 or 30 minute fix, or 15-30 minute VFR fix. But I do see a great amount of potential in Aerofly. I think once all the features are implemented, then it's really just a matter of developers putting in higher end complex aircraft. Right now, everything that's in there is rather simple, and I think that's why no one's really taking it too seriously just yet. But I think that if A2A were to get in there and put a complex, one of their AccuSim type aircraft in there, I think a lot of people might start to take it a bit more seriously. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in that case. And then John disclosed to me they're also working on another project, which he hasn't mentioned to anyone yet. And I won't say what that is, but I will say that this other project that Orbix is looking into was probably the most impressive out of everything. And I'm sure they'll be making that announcement probably around FlightSimCon when they have something to show. It'll be really interesting what the guys from Orbix will have to say about that. They will be rolling in deep this year, that's for sure. So I'm hearing rumblings in terms of certain team members that are going to be here this year at FlightSimCon, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the team again, and hopefully making more announcements about that coming up soon. So on to the scenery here. Let's see. So right now we can kind of see a little bit of the details, but it's still a little bit dark as the sun continues setting out there on the horizon. So before we bring the sun back up, let's drop it even further and take a look at a nook. I need water. My mouth is going dry here. Let's take a look at the night lighting before we go to full daylight here. Now, this Salt Lake City project is something that I want to coin as the missing puzzle piece. And the reason why is because Salt Lake City really has been the missing puzzle piece for U.S. airports for many, many years. I remember, I don't know if you guys, depending on how long you've been around, back in those FS9 days, who was a developer that did that freeware Salt Lake? There was a freeware Salt Lake that was out there a long time ago. I remember it vaguely, but I remember there was a freeware Salt Lake out there. I don't remember who was responsible for that, but I'm surprised to see the payware developers passing it up year after year after year, time after time after time. And I kind of always wondered why, even like back in the day, we had ImagineSim with like Denver, and this would have been a good airport for ImagineSim to tackle, like right after Denver 6 or 7 years ago, whenever they did that Denver scenery. So it's really interesting that no one was really trying to tackle Salt Lake City, and I've always seen it as a missed opportunity for many developers, because this airport has been in heavy demand for so long, and it's just surprising to see it get passed up time after time. And so it's gotten to the point where a developer who's dedicated himself to developing airports for the Pacific had to go inland to get it done. That's pretty cool there. Hook it up. Chocks and power. So there you can see there we have some rather mild internal modeling there. There's not too much going on in there. You can see some Delta logos there and a few seats and chairs inside of the building there. But again, this adds to the immersion. Now, let me just take a quick look at my frame rates here. Because the other problem, too, or not problem, but the other, just looking at some of the early complaints, a lot of people were concerned with looking at, and honestly, I didn't even look at it myself, but apparently there was published what the requirements are, or system requirements or something like that, and a lot of people were getting turned off to that and trying to decide if they would purchase a scenery or not based on that. And right now I'm looking at 40. I'm jumping between 38 and 48 frames per second. You can kind of determine based on how you're watching the live stream how smooth it is, provided that you're having a decent connection and you're not getting buffering and stuff like that. It's actually very smooth so far. We're gonna jump, since Colin is here, I have to make sure I say Colin because I said Colin a few times, and he's like, dude, stop calling me Colin. I don't know why I do that. I think I get it from Colin Powell, right? Do we call him Colin Powell? I don't know. But anyway, I think we'll jump in his 717 again. That's the aircraft we've been using to taxi around the sceneries as of late. So taking a look at the ground textures, the lighting, again, and we'll bring the sun back up in a little bit. Right now, we're just looking at the night lighting, but so far, the ground textures are very crisp. Loving the night lighting, too, on the ground and on the terminals as well. Maybe drop that lighting a little bit more. And I'm glad that he did the city scenery because, where's my Xbox controller? Wrong way. There we go. Zoom in there a little bit. And you get those city buildings there in the background. Zoom in there a little bit more, huh? That's my chase plane. It's working. So there we go. We have the nice little city buildings there in the background. The ground lighting up for all the taxiway lights and the hold short lighting there. Looking very nice with the city lights there in the background and the buildings. Looking very nice indeed. Let's go ahead and zoom back out here. So the night lighting, and you know what I like about the night lighting already that I can tell you is I like that it's like bright in a sense. I feel like a lot of sceneries, the night lighting is a little too dark. And I know that a lot of developers try to make things as realistic as possible. But honestly, I like it to be a little bit more artificially brighter than it might be in real life, just so that it's easier to see. Because sometimes a lot of people sim on television screens, and this is something that I think developers should take note of. A lot of people tend to sim on their television screens, and a lot of these TV screens are cheap $500 4K Walmart televisions. And the problem with these TVs is they're cheap. So that means that you can have what's that, like that light bleed, like the blacks are not inky black. So when it's nighttime, it's kind of like that faded kind of black. And then sometimes you get these glossy like screens so that you pick up light in the background and everything is kind of glossy. And so all of that can kind of detract from what you're seeing in the simulator because it's so dark. It's hard to make out details. And so, I sim on a computer monitor, so I don't have that problem. But even with my monitor, this Dell 30-inch Ultra Sharp is still, this thing is over 10 years old. So it for LCD technology back then, the blacks still aren't inky black. So sometimes I do get this sort of faded kind of black. And so every now and then, you lose detail because it's not as bright at night. And so that's one of the things that I'm kind of hoping that developers will look into in the future is maybe giving an option to make the night lighting a little bit brighter, just to kind of counteract the contrast of the different screens that people use. But in this case, it's actually fairly bright on the tarmac. It's not bad. And then speaking of something that would be groundbreaking is, let me just turn over here to the left. You see this airplane, how freaking black it is? Like, you can barely even see it. Like, this is something, too, that hopefully we'll see in the future. When you taxi under a light, or if an AI parks up to a gate, it will illuminate that as one of the scenery objects. That might be something good for the future, I would hope. So I see there's a lot of comments over there in the comment section there. We're going to bring up the daylights here in just a minute. Let's see here. I'm just trying to pour through the comments really quickly, see if there's any questions about the scenery here. I see Phil Simmer is talking about his VAS. Oh, Phil Simmer says, okay, regarding performance, I'm amazed. I bought this with the concern that VAS and I bought this with the concern of VAS and FPS issues. I have a 3-year-old machine and get 30 to 40 FPS in the cockpit, and 800 megabytes free VAS with Orbix Global and Vector still loaded using TFDI 717. Yeah, right now, actually, I should pull up my Process Explorer, but I imagine my VAS couldn't be high. Certainly no higher than Tag to the Gate Charles de Gaulle or Fly Tampa Amsterdam. I would think not. Looking at these cars in the parking lot, some of them have taillights on. Look at that. That's a nice touch. Very nice touch there. All right, let's bring the sun back up now, because we want to start taking a look at some of these details here. Start getting a better look at things as the sun works its way back up through the sky. Here we have some nice water masking. By the way, everything is water masked in this scenery as well. All these canals and rivers that flow through the city here out to the lake from the mountains. Very nice. Water masking, a very big deal. One of the big things that I always look for in sceneries. We got Eastern Hops there. Is that Slayer? Oh, TFDI is calling us saying he's not sure if they're coming to Flight SimCon just yet. I'm sure the Eastern Hops guys will be representing in full force. I certainly hope so. And by the way, Eastern Hops, you won't have any. You won't have to deal with any issues this year, right? You guys had to deal with some BS last year. And I'm sorry you guys had to put up with that from the museum. They were getting on your case about your setup that you guys had last year. You're not going to have that problem this year. So the event promoters were looking at a lot of the limitations, the imposed limitations, if you will, of the previous few years, and have sought to eliminate that stuff. So now you guys won't have a problem. You can put up your big screen and do it the way you want, which is good. Oh, TFDI is coming. Oh, perfect. Awesome. So there we go. We already have an announcement from TFDI, who will be at this year's Flight SimCon. Awesome. And by the way, you guys can just do what we did. Just go to the local Walmart and pick up a TV. Just return it when you're done. That seems to work. Whatever. So that's great. So look at that. We're going to have a really good turnout at Flight SimCon this year. I am really, really super excited. I've already bought my ticket, so I'm ready to go. And looking forward to seeing a lot of you there. Coming across the Delta Cargo building here, as we spin around, just taking a look at some of the logistics buildings here. So if I can manage, depending on how much I might choke the system, we'll put in the TFDI and the PMDG. We'll put them both in, get an idea of what kind of performance we're getting. I'm going to try to keep the AI in here as well. I'm getting pretty good, solid performance with the AI aircraft in here, so I'm going to try to keep those in and bring up those aircraft as well. Now, some of these planes, I was trying to figure out if they were static or if they were AI. I wasn't sure, but now I think this is answering my question. These two ATRs here, this definitely looks like static. There's actually some decent static models here, too. I know American Eagle doesn't exist anymore, right? What are they calling it now? Envoy, or... I know it's just American now. You don't see Eagle anymore. But is American still flying ATRs? I can't remember the last time I've seen an ATR, to be honest. But it's nice to see them here on the ramp. So I imagine we're getting sort of a mix of some static and AI aircraft here. And additionally, I should remind you, there is a control panel. I believe it's the same type. As a matter of fact, I believe it's the same control panel that we saw with the Linate stream from Jetstream Designs. By the way, you guys love that scenery. That scenery has been very successful, and Tomas says the sales have been really, really good. So he wanted to offer his thanks to the community as well for your support. He's really pleased with how well you all are pleased with that scenery. But with the scenery selection, I believe that it was that stream where we showed a scenery configuration tool. I believe that's the one. But nevertheless, this does have a configuration tool, so there's quite a few options and things that you can deactivate if you do find that you're not getting decent performance, or if you find that you're having vast issues. There's a lot you can deactivate in order to improve your performance, and you'll find that tool in the scenery folder, in the PacSim scenery folder, in the main prepared or FSX folder, whichever simulator you're using. So if you do find that you're having any issues, just make sure that you take a look at that, because that's going to help improve things for you. But as you see things right now, everything is fully activated. Everything is fully activated. So give me 1 second here, guys. I need to get some water, and additionally, my wife's got the heater on, and it is like burning up in here. I gotta strip some clothes off here. So give me just a second here. I'm gonna set down our helicopter and get some water. I'll leave you guys to chat among yourselves just for a moment while I get some water. Yeah, my desk is like right underneath the vent. Oh my God, it's hot. Whew, it's like 90 freaking degrees. Rolio's taking off. Thanks for joining as always. Man, I am burning up in here. Whew. Okay. Where did track I? Oh no, wait. What am I doing here? Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. So just taking a look at the textures. The textures, obviously, is everything that we've come to expect from PacSim. I'm loving the JetBridge models here, by the way, as well. JetBridge models looking very nice. Now, some of you might say, you know, well, it doesn't look like Flight Beam to me. And that's the thing that I love about PacSim. PacSim, you know, and the thing is not everything should look like Flight Tampa or flight beam and the like, because then we get no character between developers. And the thing that I like about PacSim is he has his own methods and ways of doing things. And I like the look of his airports. I like that when I mention a certain developer's name, we can all mention, why we like that developer and what, how they do their products and their airports. And one of the things that I love about PacSim is I love, number one, the way he optimizes his sceneries is just really remarkable. I wrote like a super duper extensive review on Manila where, that scenery area, that coverage area is just unbelievably huge. And to this day, I don't know how the hell he did it. Like, I just don't know how he did it. But if you were watching that interview, that he says that's always at the forefront of his projects is performance. He says he always starts there first. And then once he gets it done, then he starts pushing things up a notch and pushing things up a notch. And that's really a very good way to approach it, because everyone has a different setup. Everyone has a different kind of computer. And, you never know what you're going to wind up with on the end user level. So, to optimize it for, a low end computer and then work your way up is really a good way to go. Now, in the case of this scenery here, we've got full AI. I'm still rocking 8 FPS in the 40s right now. So I imagine those frames might drop 8 or 10% maybe once we jump into an aircraft here, which is what we're getting ready to do in just a moment. But just looking at the textures of the terminals, everything here looks good. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing. Parking lots, I'll tell you, so there's a couple of key areas. So one of the key areas that I mentioned earlier, and again, take this out too. We got these air conditioning units and stuff here. So one of the areas I'll point out, along with when we were in the downtown area, we were looking at a lot of photoreal building roofs, but no actual building. So I'll point out that area. The other area too is in this part here, where we're sitting on photoreal. And this is probably an area that I would like to see some improvement with PacSim, is actually going in here and doing the hand-drawn textures would be nice, as opposed to photoreal. Again, for many people, they probably wouldn't care anyway, because you're not taxing on this part, but that's something that would be like the next stage to enhance a scenery. If he were to start looking at adding more details, this would certainly be an area. You can put some cars in here, some taxis waiting, stuff like that, maybe some animated traffic. That could bring this whole area to life here. We have this huge multi-story car park, but there's no cars in it, and it's nicely rendered, but no cars there. And we've got another, fairly large parking lot here, and here you can actually see where he's added some tarmacking here, but there is no. It's all pretty much empty, and then the cars are a little bit further out. But where the cars are actually appear to be sitting on the photoreal as opposed to actual like tarmac type textures. In fact, let me just come out here a little bit further. So here in this case, the cars, actually no, he did tarmac that up a little bit. I'll take that back. A little bit low resolution, but not that big a deal from this eye point, because the bottom line is you really want to see it when you're on approach, and that gives you a good view on approach. So it could be a little bit higher res on the texture scale, but again, that's one of his biggest focuses is optimization first and foremost. And I can't fault him for that. Although, I will fault... Let me get down here. Do I see it? Do I see it? Yep, I don't see it. So I will fault the no fences rule. I see there is a wall there, and then that wall kind of disappears. So... yeah, there's no fences here. So I will fault the no fences rule of mine. And again, in these areas over here, we're looking at the photoreal. Oh wait, there is a fence there. Wait a minute, look at that. Oh, there is a fence. Oh, I'll have to stand corrected and retract my statement here. Just go all the way around. Boy, that fence is hard to see, isn't it? But no, there is a fence there. Oh, I retract my statement. There is a fence. Wow, you really got to get on your knees to see that fence, huh? I did not see that fence. There it is. There is a fence there. I take that back. He knew I'd be looking for those fences, didn't he? And, okay, so let's go ahead and grab an aircraft. And we'll do some taxiing. Oh, another thing that I note, too, in several areas around the airport, you'll see you've got the service roads that go underneath certain taxiways. That's a nice touch as well. I've seen a couple of those already. So let's go ahead and grab an aircraft. We'll put it down on the active runway here. And we'll taxi over. We'll start with the 777, and then we'll go with the 717 for taxiing around. Ooh, that was kind of a shady landing there. Your screen might go blank for just a second while I change aircraft. And as Phil Simmer is saying, wouldn't want those virtual terrorists to storm the airfield. You know, but that's what I'd be thinking when I'm sitting on in my flight deck, and I'm like, wow, there are no fences there. Avatar guy could just run up in here with a knife. Okay. And I did reset my my what do you call that? Oh crap. I was just getting ready to say that I did reset my shaders, but it looks like this thing isn't going to load again. I think this thing's going to be missing textures again. Really? And I reset my damn shaders too. Oh, for fuck's sake with this airplane. Alright, I reset my shaders, so I don't know why I'm having that problem. Alright, let's grab the 717 then. Let's hope I don't have problems with that one. Jeez Louise. I don't get it. All right, well, it looks like the TFDI is going to work, so. Or maybe not. What the hell is it with P3D that I have to keep resetting shit all the time? This stuff drives me crazy. It really does. Wow, that's incredibly annoying. It really is. That is really annoying. It seems like I have to reset the shaders every time I start this thing. So far, every time I plug in one of my controls, it resets everything. And every time I go to start up or select a certain airplane, it's random. Shaders will work with this airplane, but not that airplane. I just don't get it with the shaders. I don't know what causes them to keep resetting like that. But it's getting to the annoying part, and I think Lockheed Martin needs to come up with something to maybe just do an automatic reshader. You know, every time you start it, it just redoes the shaders on every restart. I don't know. Okay, well, let's grab something else. Give me a second. I really don't want to restart the simulator right now. That's what I'm trying to avoid here at the moment. So hang on. I know you're looking at that blank screen and like, what's going on? I feel like I'm looking at the same airplanes over and over in this list here. Are there no American liveries anywhere in here? Jeez. Well, I could have sworn I had a United or some crap in here, but I guess not. All right, let's grab any airplane. I think the Aerosoft Airbus is the only one that doesn't have this issue with shaders. That one's the only one that seems to work every time. I don't know what I'm looking at right now, though. The hell am I looking at right now? Okay, where's the airplane? Holy crap. What is going on? Oh, chase plane. Come on. What is going on today? Oh, for God's sake. I don't know what's going on. All right. You know what? I'm going to have to restart the simulator then. I really want to get this point of view for you, but I don't know. Chase plane just took a crap. Sorry, Kevin. All right, I don't know. I couldn't get out of chase plane. I don't know what was happening there. I was running into problems. So all right, we're just gonna have to do this again. Where the hell are those shaders? Ah, crap. All right. Okay. Is there one in here? I think I can delete one that's like in here somewhere, right? Or is it in the other folder? I just went through this crap. Is it local? Lockheed Martin. Shaders, okay. Oh, I hate going through this crap over and over and over. It brings the live streams to a freaking halt. All right, let me go ahead and jump into the chat a little bit here. Captain IFR says he thinks I've stuffed my P3 with too many add-ons. Dude, right now I don't even have probably 30% of all the add-ons that I have for prepared installed right now. Let's see. A lot of chat about PMDG. What's going on with the store? Are they trying to say it's been released? Oh, they already addressed that, didn't they? Because they knew you guys would think that shit. PMDG e-commerce site is temporary offline while we effect upgrades for the upcoming release. It is not releasing right now. Relax. It'll be offline. It'll reboot in about 45 minutes or some crap. All right, yeah. So, there, they answered your question right there. So, or they could be playing games and they are going to release it right now. Who knows? Okay, well, we'll wait for P3D to restart here. And yes, I do use PTA, someone was asking. I love PTA. It's like the best thing since sliced bread and P3D. I haven't run it in a while. Maybe I do need to. But yeah, I had this issue in the last stream that we did. The one in Paris, and I don't know what caused it to do that. But I reset the shaders after that, and here we are back again. All right, stand by. Okay, that looks right now. There we go. We'll just start right back up on the active runway there. And I'm going to change the weather here to Cirrus at 7,000. Okay. All right, let's try this again. And Easter Hop saying you guys are rolling 30 people deep this year at FlightSimCon? Wow. FSS Syndicate, you live you live an hour, less than an hour from FlightSimCon, and you hope to be there? You better be there. I live less than 5 hours by airplane, and I'm going to be there. You better be there. And Phil Simmer will be... Is Phil Simmer the Phil that I know? Last name starts with a C. Says he's been to all but one. Is that Phil? Oh, and that... Okay, that's... Okay. I'm just catching up on comments here. Yeah, I got to get with the Eastern Hops guys this year, too. Well, the convention will be a lot longer than the previous years as well. I think we're extending it by like an hour or something. But the good thing about it is, even if the convention ends at, say, like 6 o'clock, we don't have to leave. You know, there's no one who's going to kick us out. So the good thing about that is we can still hang around and see all the setups and stuff. So that'll be really good. No one will have to be in a hurry this year. All right, so it's coming back online here. I know that always takes a minute. And I should probably grab my Trek IR too. I got an email from the guys at TrackHat last week, so hopefully I'll be demoing that pretty soon too. This freaking Track IR thing that I got, man, is hanging by duct tape and a prayer. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Okay. Let me just move my eye point here just a little bit. Oop. How's that? That should work. And let me adjust the time of day again. And I'm curious about those frame rates too. Yeah, I like that. Nice. Those nice dust textures. Okay. What am I looking for here? Alright, so let's go ahead and taxi over to the terminal. Actually, there's no terminal lights on yet, huh? If we're going to do nighttime. I at least want those lights on, don't I? There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, let's take a look at frame rates here. The AI traffic is still where it was. Frames is 26 frames per second right now. That's 26.5 frames per second with the full AI. If we must look at the Process Explorer that I seem to keep deleting. Process Explorer. I don't know why I keep deleting the damn Process Explorer file. Hang on a second. The screen might go blank for a second while I try to pull up Process Explorer here. I keep freaking forgetting about that. Let's just get an idea, because I know there's concerns about VAS usage. Oh, shit. Excuse me. Okay. I'm going to pull up Process Explorer real quick. Where is P3D on? Y'all. There we are. That's actually not bad. So let me go back to the desktop view here for a second. Just real quick. So this is actually lower than, that's actually pretty good, right about where we are there with P3D. That's not bad at all. I don't know how well you can see that right here on the line, virtual size there. So just over 3 million there. And Amsterdam was like 400 around there. Charles de Gaulle was a little bit less. I think it was like 3 and 2 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, this is not bad. And of course, I had the AI turned off in those, and this is what we're getting with AI on at maximum. So you figure even with AI at 30%, you should actually do pretty well, to be honest. So VAS wise, we're doing pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and taxi around here a little bit and take a look at things from the VC perspective. The night lighting is really nicely done here. I am definitely impressed with the night lighting here. Where is my, I'm playing with stuff right now. I want my chase plane to do its chase plane-y type stuff here. There we go. Make it all shaky and bouncy and stuff. There we go. I'm telling you, I love that. When that chase plane works, it's freaking awesome. All right, let's we'll pull up and find a gate here. So far, I mean, looking at frames per second, 26 frames per second right now. Now you can choose to focus on what the FPS is, or you can choose to focus on how smooth it is. And I know Chase Plane likes to suck a little VAS, but and that's running in the background too. But this is looking really good. And look, now from this point of view, the airport looks really good now. Just seeing it from this perspective. PacSim nailed it. I love the lighting. I really do love the way he did the lighting here. I know I'm running off the edge of the runway here. All right, we'll take this turn off right here. So I'm just shutting up a little bit so you guys can kind of take a look for yourselves. And oh, Kevin is saying Chase Plane does not use VAS. Okay, it just tells us how much VAS it's using, or Flight Simulator is using. And Captain IFR has reminded me not to hit the brakes hard this time. It's funny because I just reminded myself of that. Sorry, I'm looking off to the left here because I'm looking at the computer. I just want to make sure. And Bruner's actually saying when I reset the P3D shader cache, you have to restore the original shaders in PTA first. Oh, I didn't know that. I better look at that then. Yeah, because there's got to be a reason why that keeps happening. Oh, okay. I need to reapply my setting. Okay. Alright, let's head over to the airport. Yeah, I'm going to try to take it easy on the brakes. So definitely, the night lighting here is really impressive. I definitely like the night lighting here. Now, the scenery does use the Sim Object display engine for jetways. So I just need to make sure that I pull us into a proper gate. But so far, as you can see, the scenery is very nicely optimized. I mean, it is very smooth. The frames have gone up a little bit now. I'm looking at 34 frames per second now. And again, if I just try not to move my head much, that way you can kind of see just how smooth it is. And then looking towards the main terminal area. You can see there it looks really smooth. Should get us back on the center line here. And let's go ahead and find a gate to pull up to. And try to take it easy on those brakes. I don't even know where there is a heavy gate to even park at here. Where's the airplane? Oh, I couldn't find the plane. Oh, I'm overturning here. Okay, what is a gate that I can park at? Let me see, I need to move this a little bit up here so I can get around. I thought I moved that. It's not moving any faster. Advanced. Is it this button? There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay. Let's see here. That does not look like a wide body gate. Nope. Let's see, where do we park the heavies at this airport? Because I do not see any heavies at the gate anywhere. What is this? Is that a 757? Yes, it is. A319, 737. Where do we park the big boys? I want to make sure I go to the right gate so that we do get an operational jet bridge. Eamon's saying park at D2. Okay, let me see. There's C. This is D over here. D3, D1, so D2 should be on this side. D4. D2. Well, there's an aircraft on D2, so I might have to park right through him. Yeah, I can park on D2. I'm surprised to see that there's no marking on the ground for something like a 777, though. I see 787, A330. Oh, okay, I see here. So we got to go at that angle. Okay. And this guy's on the gate, so I'll just have to go through him. He doesn't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. So anyway, okay, we'll go ahead and pull onto that gate. Ooh, nice chase plane effects there. Look at that. All right, let's go ahead and pull up to that gate. Let's go back inside and all right, let's just make this little turn here. I don't think, you see, there's no docking aid here, is there? So we're just gonna have to squeeze this fat thing on here. So in fact, let me go back outside so I can make sure I'm doing this right. Sorry, buddy, but we're going to steal your gate because I'm bigger than you are. Is this really the only heavy gate in the whole airport, Amos? Who flies here? Doesn't like British Airways or something fly here? Alright, so I think that should be far forward enough. Let's go ahead and pull up Sody Pop. Oh, it's one of these buttons. Oh crap, what's up with Sody? Oops. It's not even coming up. Whoops. Here we go. Let me check the chat task manager and see if it's even running. Oh, it is running. So why can't I pull it up? It was working fine last few sceneries. Alright, well, it is not coming up. So I installed the update. Bummer. I don't know, maybe if I kill it, maybe I can restart it, perhaps? Where would I find that? Sody is registered and prepared v3. How do I know what version this is? Let me see. Alright, maybe I'm not going to be able to run the Sody jet bridges then. Troubleshooting during a live stream is really not the time to start troubleshooting, but unfortunately the sim object display engine didn't come up. So when I did install the update that's there, but I've had a lot of problems with that over the years, and I think that's why using sim object display engine is it's half and half for a lot of people. There are a lot of people that demand it and a lot of people that absolutely hate it. There was a scenery we were looking at just recently, and I'm trying to remember which one it was, where you actually had a choice on installation. I think that was David Rosenfield's, maybe. I'm trying to remember, where you could either use Control-J or Sody, depending on how you select it when you install. So in this case, it was running. I hit the button for it to come up, but it just wouldn't come up. So, and I've had that happen before. So even though I've updated it, maybe it didn't update properly. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go through the trouble of trying to troubleshoot it because I just don't have the time. It's already 12:30, and I've got to move on to other things. But for the most part, this is it. This is there's no point in switching to another aircraft if I'm not going to get the jet bridges running, unfortunately. So But for the most part, this is it. So Pacific Island Simulations, Graham has done another tremendous job with another terrific airport. At the very least, what I'd like to see is I at least want to see one of the gates from this perspective, since we're not going to get a jet bridge. So let's see. There's aircraft on all these gates, isn't there? Jeez, can I get one gate, maybe? There we go. I'm just going to sue over to a gate. I at least want to be able to sit at a gate and be able to look through the terminal, at least from the virtual cockpit here. So that should give us a little bit of an idea there. That should be fine. We just kind of look around there from this eye point. So yes, very nicely done. And let me change the timing again. I did want to look at winter textures too. I want to see if there's winter textures with that large photo reel. So I want to look at that as well before we go. There's morning, daytime. Just looking around here. So what PacSim has really done here is, you know, he's captured the feel of it. And that's what I like. He's captured the feel of it. I've never been to Salt Lake, like I said, but he's captured the feel of it. And I think it would not be the same if he had not done the mountains and everything in the photo reel. So he's really captured it all quite nicely. And so I am very pleased with this. So I recommend it. I think it's nicely done, but you know, you've seen the stream for yourself, so you can kind of determine whether or not you like it based on what you've seen today. Sorry I didn't get the jet bridges working. I really wanted to, but unfortunately it's a semi-object display engine deal, and I just don't have time to go fooling around with that. So for now, let me see if I can at least change the season textures and see what it looks like in winter really quickly. And this platform is prepared the latest version of P3D version 3. It does say FSX in Twitch, but that's just because that's how Twitch recognizes the game. So they don't have an installment for P3D. Okay, let's change time and season really quickly. Let's go to January 28th. And see really quickly if we can pull it up. So Brunner's asking if I updated SOTI. Well, when I ran the scenery, it had SOTI already built in, so it already wanted to put that version of SOTI in it, and I would assume that in there it would have the latest version. I know that on his Facebook page, Graham did say to go in and download the update before release, but when I installed it, if it's already coming with it already in there, wouldn't that already be the latest version? I would think anyway. So it says it's registered and everything is there, and yet for some reason it isn't coming up. So I don't know. But like I said, I've had this happen with several sceneries in the past, and sometimes I find that sometimes it works and sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's kind of the case with SOTI. So the last few times that it did work, I was happy that it was working. Unfortunately, not the case this time around. All right. Winter textures, because we didn't get a chance to take a look at the winter textures, did we? So we do have some winter textures here. So the only thing, the winter textures are nice for the surroundings, the airport surroundings. What I don't like though is that it's just void of snow altogether on the runways and on the tarmac. And I like to have that. If we refer to, like, for example, Flight Beams Denver, you have snow particles like all over the tarmacs and over the runway. So, everything is not so clean. It's not like piles of snow, but just kind of snow blown all over the airport. And in this case, the tarmac is just so clean. It's a little too clean for not having any snow on it. So that's the only downside for the winter. Like you can see, there's some snow on all these little photoreal segments. But it is as if the clouds have decided we're not going to snow on the airport itself. We'll just we'll spare the airport of any snow in terms of on the tarmac. And if you refer to my buddy Yo Erland, and you look at some of his Norwegian airports, he's got snow all over the roofs of the building, and so a place like Salt Lake City gets its fair share of harsh winters, and so it would be nice to have had a little bit more snow immersion. You like that, Kevin? Snow immersion? You like how I worked that in there? So yeah, it would be nice to have a little bit of the snow immersion in here. But other than that, there we go. We've got the winter textures here. So looking good. So this is it. I guess we should head over really quickly to the PacSim website before we go and find out where you can get this and how you can get this. The winter textures here. So looking good. So this is it. I guess we should head over to the PacSim website before we go. Okay. I need to switch over to the desktop view, don't I? That probably would be smart. There we are. All right, so here we are, the PacSim online store. And always remember, folks, when you purchase directly from the developers, they get the largest return on their investment. So web shops can take anywhere from 15 to 35% of each sale, which is a lot. And when you purchase from them directly, they get that money. And what they are able to do with that money is invested back into future projects. So definitely, if whenever you can, try to purchase direct from the developer. So here you go to islandsim.com and you click on store, and that'll take you over to the product page where you have all this wonderful information, and you can buy it. It's $35, and there were a few people saying that they felt like $35 was too expensive. I mean, so, at the end of the day, it comes down to, what it means for you. You have to keep in mind, this team is really Graham and his wife and anyone who volunteers to help with the logistics of it. But for the most part, you have that huge coverage area and custom city. And I think $35 is worth it, because it's not I know we all want to save a buck, but it's not just about trying to spend the least, but it's also about supporting our development community as well, and keeping them invested in our hobby as well. And by doing that, we invest in them. So you can pick this up at islandsim.com, $35. And again, I applaud Graham. I think he's done a magnificent job with this scenery. I'm really looking forward to what he's going to do next. And like I said, he has finally filled the missing puzzle piece. And that missing puzzle piece is Salt Lake City. And he's done it. And I'm glad he's finally done it, because now we can enjoy this airport that has just been overlooked year after year after year by so many different developers. And now we have this wonderful airport. So if you like what you've seen today, check it out. So far, I've heard really good things for those who have bought it. The only complaints that I've really seen is from folks who haven't bought it yet and were looking at the product page and not liking what they were seeing on the product page, and so we're kind of bad-mouthing from that perspective. But for those who've actually bought it, I've seen nothing but good comments thus far, both on Air Daily X and here in the chat this morning as well. So support PacSim. Head out and grab Salt Lake City. You've waited so long to get it, and now it's here. So, and Larry is also pointing out that he found the downloads to be a little bit awkward, and yeah, I get that, because it downloads all these separate files and stuff. But I think the way it was done that way is so that you could get the files individually instead of having one big file to download. Again, you can see this airport has this really massive coverage area, and so I think a lot of that is what you're seeing in some of these separate files here, and allows you to download them separately and get them individually faster. But like I said, all the files, it only took me about 5 minutes to get all of it, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes to get all of it using a download manager. So if you're not using a download manager, especially for large downloads for Flight Simulator, you really need to rethink that, because that's going to go a long way in help you getting your stuff faster. And not only that, but if it gets interrupted, you don't have to worry about it, because the download manager will always resume where it left off. So no big deal there. So other than that, folks, hope you enjoyed this morning's Saturday stream. You can see I'm really trying to keep up with all this stuff that's getting released. I know a lot of you want the Manchester versus Manchester stream, so I'll have to look into that as well. So I'm getting there, but so far we're keeping up. So it's January. A lot of releases last month. We're getting a lot of cool releases this month. January is almost over, heading into February. Wow, is that plane like coming straight for us? Holy crap. Look at that. Look at him go. My AI is just, I've got the dumbest AI package in the world. I mean, really? Dumbest AI package in the world. All right, folks, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you back up here again on airdailyx.net for the next live stream. Again, I'll do my best to try to plan these out in advance as much as I can. At least this one I was able to give you a little bit warning, but that was only yesterday, but that's when it was released. So doing my best to stay on top of it, but as always, just make sure you keep an eye on airdailyx.net, and if you haven't yet, make sure you like this Twitch page, because at any point I could go live. At any point something could be released like tonight, and then I'll jump on and just start streaming it, because tomorrow, for example, is a very busy day for me and I won't be around AirDailyX tomorrow. So you never know. I might hit that live stream button at any moment. So definitely make sure you like this page. That way you get that hit. And thanks for joining me, everyone. I got to take off. I got to take a nap. I've only had 2 hours of sleep, man. I am out of here. Happy flying, everyone. Enjoy, and I'll see you again soon.